I was reading your website, and in the blog section, there's quite an interesting article about GCSEs and how it's like a really solid block that, like, it's an important, it's almost, well, tell us, what GCSEs in England we do between 14 to 16?
So we do them we basically do them in year 11 of school.
Yeah.
So they're the first stage that you can leave school from. So that's not the same here, obviously, because you can't leave school and still stay on a visa here. But in the UK, year 11, you do your GCSEs, then you decide, do you want to go to an FE college? Do you want to leave and get work? Do you want to go back and do A levels? Not so much IB, because there's not so much an offer there. Yes. And they're great. So in theory, if you want to leave, you need to have 5 GCSEs. So you need to have your English, your maths and your science. Why? I have absolutely no idea, because they don't make you a better work person. But they're kind of the criteria that we filter kids on as to whether or not they're going to go and do anything else.
We're kind of getting to a point where flexiness in education is almost the message of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
How do we educate people in the right way, but also because there has to be some structure?
Yeah, I mean, the point we're at the moment is that education's not going to change from it. There are a lot of investigations, a lot of reports, and a lot of sort of studies going on, and education will change, but it's not going to change for 10 years. So for the next 10 years, if your children are between the ages of 1 and 18, they're in the system they're in, and you just have to suck it up. That's it, And I'm really sorry to say, yes, you can choose between Indian curriculum, American curriculum, British curriculum, IB curriculum. There's lots of different curriculums to choose from, but they have to suck it up. Now, what we're seeing is a lot of parents are going towards home learning, and I think that's the worst thing in the world you could ever do. Yes, it's cheap, and yes, it stops your child who might be stressed or might not like David sat in their class. Yes, it solves those problems, but for me, school isn't actually about learning. School is about social skills.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about picture. More sort of life skills with online learning.
Online learning, I think, to do full-time online learning is extremely, extremely lonely. And yes, you'll pick up your GCSEs that you need to pick up, and yes, you can learn, and you can pass your exams. But what do you miss? What do you not have in your life if you don't have friends at school? Why do kids go to school? They don't go to school because they want to do science, or they're dying to do their history class. They go to school because they want to see their friends.
Yeah. I had a guy on the show a few months ago who had taken his kids out of school and was following there's quite a strong system that Nelson Mandela followed when he was in jail and all this kind of stuff. And I was really sold on it. And his sales pitch to me, or his sort of theory, was they're able to do school, 6 or 8 hours of school in a third of the time. Yeah. They're also able to progress at their speed, not at the speed of the smartest guy or girl or the slowest in the class. So they go at their speed, and they could be a year ahead in maths and all this flexibility that he was talking about. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And my question was what you said. Well, I don't really know what I did at school, but I can tell you all the fights I had and the girls I used to chase around the yard and all this kind of stuff.
It's where you learnt your life skills.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. Online learning, you can fly through, and you can do really well on it. But I always worry, and it's great in circumstances. Some circumstances, it's great. But I think the bigger picture is, what do you lose by not being in school? And, when you talk to anyone, yeah, actually, I quite enjoyed school, or I got this out of school. And people may not love school, but it's such a foundation to all of their learning.
But if we sort of carried on our track of finding out what kids like, and we were able to educate them for 3 or 4 hours in the morning, and then have them in various different groups, whether they like arts and crafts, or whether they like sport or drama or whatever it is, and then they had more time to go to those activities, do we not reach a point of, I wouldn't say compromise, but we get a good balance, because we get an advanced education system through...
I think there's a lot in that, and I think what we're seeing is we're actually seeing some schools doing that already.
Right.
So we've certainly got sports, fast-track sports programs. When I was working in the UK, 20 years ago, we were doing academy programs, which was exactly that, where you were doing your academics in the morning, and then you were going to do your golfing, your rugby, your football, whatever in the afternoon. And that's great if you know what you want to do. Mm. What you don't want to do is for a child who doesn't know what they want to do. That's a really long sentence. But you don't want them to be pigeonholed into being an artist when actually they could have been a doctor if they'd picked up science. Because the thing with children is they will always take the path of less resistance.
Really?
Usually, yeah.
Is that humanity?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it probably is. Yeah.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it comes back as well to giving kids a choice.
Yeah, so it was my daughter, for instance, whatever her friends are doing is the one she's going to do, and I'm looking at going, you're not going to enjoy that. Yeah, but she'll convince herself she is because her friends are doing that. And I think there's a lot of peer influence is quite big when you're in school as well. So to some extent, yes, you want them to have choice. Yes, you want them to take responsibility for their own lives, but you also don't want them to take the wrong path because peer pressure and least resistance has been the overriding factor.